Welcome to part 2 of your insurance principles review for the California Life Accident and Sickness exam. California writes these definitions into law. Your exam quotes exact code language, so know it cold. Today we'll cover risk and loss exposure, perils and hazards, 5 ways to manage risk. What makes a risk insurable? Key California statutes, insurable interest, indemnity, and underwriting. Our website offers free exam guides and practice questions designed to help you ace your California Life Accident and Sickness exam. You'll find the link right in the description below. So go ahead and check it out today and start studying smarter, not harder, to pass with confidence. All right, let's jump right in. Start with the most useful thing I can tell you. Every term here is one gear in a single machine, and once you watch a turn, the vocabulary stops feeling like a random flashcards. Picture Maria, a 40-year-old graphic designer. The chance she gets sick and runs up big medical bills is where our story begins. That chance sitting in Maria's life is a loss exposure. Notice it exists every day, whether or not she ever gets sick. This is where people stumble, so let me be blunt. A loss exposure is not the loss itself. It is the standing possibility of loss present the moment she has a body that can be injured. Nobody knows if or when Maria will need expensive care, and that uncertainty is the definition of risk. Lock down one distinction early because the exam leans on it hard. Maria can only lose here. She cannot profit by getting sick. Risk that runs one direction, loss or no loss, is pure risk, the only kind insurers will touch. 2 more gears click into place before her policy issues. A peril is what could actually cause her loss. In Maria's case, a sickness or an accident. Hazards are conditions that tilt the odds, like high blood pressure raising her chance of a claim. Perils and hazards are not the same thing, and we will separate them shortly. So, Maria would rather not shoulder it alone. She hands it to an insurer by buying a health policy and in return pays a premium. That handoff is the heart of insurance. But how can a company cover claims it cannot predict for any one person? Through an elegant piece of math called the law of large numbers. Across millions of people like Maria, the insurer cannot say who will get sick, yet it predicts total claims for the whole group with striking accuracy. That predictability lets it set a fair premium today for an uncertain event tomorrow. California law then wraps the deal in rules, and the insurer checks Maria's risk, a step called underwriting. One practical piece of question or two will test the premium itself. A premium is what you pay to transfer risk, built from a rate times the number of exposure units. Say a life policy costs $28 for every $1,000 of death benefit. On a $250,000 policy, that is $7,000. Narrate that story end to end: exposure, risk, transfer, prediction, law, and underwriting. And you already grasp the backbone of this entire domain. Honestly, this is where I would spend your very first study session. Students who memorize terms in isolation struggle, while those who can tell the machine story answer applied questions almost automatically. What we just walked through is exactly the applied thinking those free practice questions sharpen. They are not shallow definition drills. They wrap each concept inside a short scenario and ask you to classify it, which is precisely how the real exam comes at you. Give a few a try after this video. Open the next idea with the mistake I see most often. Someone reads the word risk and assumes every risk can be insured. It cannot. Picture an investor buying a stock hoping the price climbs, but knowing it could fall. That carries a real chance of gain and of loss. We call it speculative risk, and no insurer covers it. Why the hard line? Because insurance restores people after misfortune, it does not bankroll bets. The moment a gain becomes possible, You are no longer looking at misfortune. You are looking at a wager. So here is your clean test for exam day. If a situation offers any chance of coming out ahead, it is speculative, not insurable. One insight sounds almost philosophical, but shows up on the test. Insurance only covers losses involving genuine uncertainty. If a loss is absolutely certain to happen, there is no uncertainty, and with no uncertainty, there is no risk to transfer. That is partly why ordinary wear and tear is never covered. No uncertainty, nothing to insure. Time to sharpen the line between an exposure and an actual loss, because the exam loves to blur them. A loss exposure is the possibility hanging over you. A loss is the event that arrived, simply a reduction in an asset's value. Value before minus value after. The unlocked door is the exposure. The stolen laptop is the loss. A subtle point worth a moment. Maria's coverage does not remove her loss exposure. She can still get sick tomorrow. What it does is soften the financial blow if a loss lands. A surprising number of questions hinge on exactly this, that buying insurance transfers the cost of a loss. It never erases the possibility of one. One more layer, because it sits at the center of your future license. The exposures you will handle most are personal ones, and the big one is loss of income when someone becomes disabled and cannot work. That is not a warehouse fire or a stolen van. Those belong to other agents. Yours is the paycheck that stops. To keep pure and speculative straight under pressure, lean on one word: gain. The second you spot a possible gain in the story, flag it speculative and cross out insurable. No gain anywhere, only the threat of loss that is pure and therefore insurable. Anchor on that one word and you stop second guessing yourself. I know we are covering a lot of detail, and you might wonder how to make it stick. That is exactly why those free practice questions exist. Work in real scenarios moves these distinctions from something you vaguely recognize into something you truly own. The link is in the description whenever you are ready to drill. Next, tackle a pair the exam confuses on purpose, peril, and hazard. Keep them apart for easy points. A peril is the cause of a loss. Fire, sickness, accident, and death are all perils. A hazard is different. Anything that increases the chance or severity of a loss. The fire burns the house. The oily rags made it likelier. Hazards come in 3 flavors, and you want to name each from a story. The first is the physical hazard, a tangible condition you could point to. Maria's high blood pressure is physical. Icy, unsalted front steps are physical. A heart murmur documented by lab tests is physical. If you can see it or measure it, it is physical. The second flavor is the moral hazard, and this one is about character, about dishonesty. Think of the applicant who deliberately hides a recent cancer diagnosis to slip past underwriting, or the person who fakes an injury or inflates a claim. Every one of these acts is deliberate. When you spot intentional dishonesty, that is a moral hazard. The third flavor sounds almost identical, but means something different, the moral hazard. This is not dishonesty, it is carelessness, a shrug of indifference. It is the person who leaves the door unlocked or texts while driving, because everything is insured anyway. No fraud, just a sloppy attitude that quietly raises the odds. Same sound, very different idea. Here is the trap laid bare, because warning students about it is a favorite habit of mine. Moral and morale differ by 2 letters and an entire world of meaning. Moral is about bad morals, a deliberate lie. Morale is about a bad mood or attitude, a careless shrug. Deliberate dishonesty versus careless indifference. Nail that one. Watch how this looks as a real question. A homeowner stores oily rags next to a furnace. A fire breaks out and you must name the hazard and the peril. Work it slowly. The rags by the furnace are the physical hazard, a condition raising the odds. The fire is the peril, the direct cause of the loss, are all. Let me drill the hazards quickly because speed matters. A diagnosed heart murmur, physical. Faking an injury to collect, moral, it is deliberate. Texting while driving because you are insured, moral, pure carelessness. Icy front steps, physical again. Inflating a claim, moral once more. Tangible condition is physical. Deliberate deceit is moral. Careless attitude is moral. On the exam, this arrives as a short story asking you to classify. They describe a person and wait for you to label the hazard, or hand you a fire and ask whether it is peril or hazard. Read for intent. Deliberate deceit means moral. A careless attitude, moral. A physical condition, physical. And the cause is the peril. Quick check-in before our next big idea. If you enjoy how these pieces fit together, you will love working them as questions. That free bank of over 300 practice items lets you test every concept so far, risk, hazards, and the rest. The link is in the description, completely free, no catch. So, a risk exists. What can a person actually do about it? There are exactly 5 moves, and they hide inside a handy memory word, STARR. Get comfortable with these, because the exam constantly hands you a scenario and asks which technique someone chose. Let me walk each one with a concrete case so they stick. The first letter, S, stands for share. Like stockholders splitting a company's losses among many owners. The T is transfer, the big one, because buying insurance is transfer, handing your risk to someone else for a price. The first A is avoid, simply not doing the risky thing at all, like choosing never to scuba dive. The R stands for reduce, lowering the odds or severity of a loss, and smoke detectors are the classic example. The final R is retain, where you knowingly keep the risk and pay losses yourself. A high deductible is retention, absorbing the smaller hits. Share, transfer, avoid, reduce, retain, and every scenario maps onto one of them. This is precisely where students slip, confusing avoid and reduce. They sound like cousins but behave differently. Avoid eliminates the activity completely, you walk away. Reduce keeps the activity going but makes it safer. Choosing not to drive on ice is avoidance. Driving but salting first and slowing down is reduction. 2 small words, a big difference. Try one with me. A trucking company installs lane departure warnings to cut accidents. Which technique? Reduction, because the company keeps running its trucks but lowers the chance and severity of a crash. Contrast that with a company that stops making dangerous deliveries entirely, which is avoidance. Same goal, different move, and the exam wants the exact word. Once Maria transfers her risk, the insurer must price it, and the law of large numbers roars back, the engine under the whole industry. One person is a mystery, but a huge pool of similar people is predictable. Notice the keyword, similar. The insurer needs many comparable exposures because only then do losses reliably track the prediction. But not every risk should be accepted, even a pure one. There is a wish list for an ideally insurable risk, hidden in another memory word, CANHAM, 6 qualities in all. When a question asks why a certain risk gets refused, the answer is almost always that one of these 6 is missing. The C is calculable. We can estimate the odds. The A is affordable for ordinary people. The N is non-catastrophic, why insurers exclude war, which triggers countless simultaneous losses. The H is homogeneous, many similar units, powering the law of large numbers. The next A is accidental, never deliberate. The M is measurable, definite in time, place, and amount. Here is what I would focus on with these 6. Do not just memorize letters, connect 2 to their signature traps. War fails the non-catastrophic test. A deliberately set fire fails the accidental test, and that same fire is also a moral hazard. Those two surface again and again. Explain why war and arson are uninsurable, and you own CANHAM. If these acronyms feel like a lot right now, take a breath. That reaction is normal. It is also why I built that practice bank. Repetition inside real scenarios turns STARR and CANHAM from letters you are cramming into knowledge you can actually reach for. The questions are free and the link is in the description. Now we reach the part that makes California special, and honestly the part that surprises people. In many states, these terms live only in a textbook. In California, they are written directly into statute, which is why your exam quotes code sections. When the test hands you precise legal wording, it is checking whether you recognize the actual law. Start with the definition of insurance itself. In California, Insurance Code Section 22. Insurance is a contract to indemnify another against loss, damage, or liability arising from a contingent or unknown event. Sit with 3 words: contract, indemnify, and contingent or unknown event. If a version is missing contingent or unknown, it is wrong. That phrase is the fingerprint. Right beside it sits Section 250, defining the insurable event, the thing a policy may cover. Here comes the surprise most people miss. That event may be contingent or unknown, whether past or future. Yes, past. What matters is not the timing, but whether the event was still unknown to both parties when they made the deal. Make that concrete because it feels strange at first. Suppose a cargo ship was actually lost at sea last week, but when the policy is written, neither party knows yet. Insurable event under Section 250, yes. The loss already happened, but it was unknown, and that unknown quality is the whole point. Do not let past fool you. Who enforces all this? The California Department of Insurance, led by an elected insurance commissioner. The department enforces the code and license agents, including the one you're about to become. You do not need every detail of the commissioner's powers here. That comes in a later book. But you must know the department exists and this office runs it. Next comes insurable interest, and the timing is precisely where points are won or lost. Insurable interest means you would genuinely suffer if the insured event occurred, whether from money at stake or love and affection. For life and disability, that interest must exist when the policy takes effect at inception. You cannot insure a wealthy stranger from the news. 2 quick applications the exam adores. First, you hold unlimited insurable interest in your own life. So you may name anyone as beneficiary, even a college roommate with no financial stake. Second, an employer insuring a key employee generally needs that employee's written consent. Own life is unlimited, and your choice. Someone else's needs a real stake or consent. Consider the principle of indemnity, with a trap baked right inside it. Indemnity means restoring someone to their pre-loss condition, no more and no less, so you cannot profit from a loss. When Maria's $18,000 hospital bill is paid, she does not also collect an extra $5,000. The catch? Indemnity governs health coverage, not life insurance. Life insurance pays a fixed face amount, a set number chosen up front, so it is not about reimbursing an actual expense. Keep the split clean. Health reimburses real costs. Life pays a stated sum. Underpinning all of this is utmost good faith, the rule that both parties, not just the applicant, must be honest and disclose material facts. This is where the theory quietly becomes your actual job. Your first professional duty as an agent is to spot a client's loss exposures and recommend products that handle them. Everything after, honest disclosure, suitability, straight answers, rest on utmost good faith. See these definitions not as dusty trivia, but as the daily craft of an accident and health agent. Truly owning these statutes takes repetition, not a single read-through. The free practice questions drill exactly this: the code sections, the timing rules, the health versus life distinctions until they become automatic. Take what you're learning here and turn it into exam-ready reflexes. The link is waiting in the description whenever you want it. Bring the machine full circle with underwriting, where the insurer evaluates and classifies a risk before it ever says yes. Here is a fact the exam loves. The agent who takes the application is the field underwriter. That is you. Your job is a complete, accurate application. Leave off the applicant's height and weight, and the file comes back. When the underwriter sizes up a risk, it lands in one of 4 classes. Preferred means better than average health, the lowest rates. Standard is average. Substandard is higher risk, higher premium. Declined means no coverage at all. Watch for a classic trick. Speculative is not one of these classes. It is a type of risk. Do not be fooled. Underwriting fights one specific enemy: adverse selection. The natural tendency for the worst risks to be the most eager buyers. Imagine a new policy where nearly everyone signing up is in poor health while healthy people walk away. Claims blow past predictions and left unchecked, that threatens the insurer's solvency. Careful underwriting keeps the pool balanced. The healthy opposite of adverse selection has a name too: a profitable distribution of exposures. The insurer writes a balanced spread of preferred, standard and substandard risks, so actual losses land about where the math predicted. This is the true goal of underwriting: not to reject everyone, but to build a balanced book that behaves itself. One last piece rounds out the picture: reinsurance, simply insurance for insurers. When a company takes on more risk than it wants to hold, it transfers some to a reinsurer. The company handing the risk off is the ceding insurer. 2 styles: facultative reviews each risk one at a time. Treaty accepts a whole class automatically. If I had to name the single thread running through underwriting, it is balance. Adverse selection is the pool tipping the wrong way. A profitable distribution is the pool in healthy balance. Reinsurance is the backstop when one company holds too much. See it as managing balance, not memorizing terms, and these questions get friendlier. As we wrap up, remember that understanding a concept and recalling it under real exam pressure are 2 different skills. Those free practice questions bridge the gap. They are completely free, built specifically for this material, and the link is in the description. Working through them is the surest way I know to lock this in. Pull the whole machine together one final time. A loss exposure sits in someone's life. The uncertainty around it is risk, and only pure risk, loss or no loss, is insurable. A peril causes the loss. A hazard merely raises its odds. People manage risk 5 ways: share, transfer, avoid, reduce, retain. A good risk meets the 6 qualities in CANHAM. From there, California law takes over. Section 22 defines insurance as a contract to indemnify against a contingent or unknown event, and Section 250 lets that event be past or future so long as it stayed unknown. Insurable interest must exist at inception. Indemnity restores actual loss for health but never for life. Utmost good faith binds both sides. Notice how tightly these ideas interlock. Underwriting exists because of adverse selection. Indemnity exists because insurance restores rather than rewards. The law of large numbers works only because risks are homogeneous. Nothing here is a loose fact to memorize in a vacuum. It is one connected system. Feel the connections, and the exam becomes a story you can tell. You have covered real ground today. Here is your next step. Do not just rewatch. Go practice. Grab those free questions from the link in the description and test yourself until the answers feel automatic. With this foundation and steady practice, you will walk in ready. You have got this. That brings part 2 of our Insurance Principles review to a close. If you're hungry for more practice, our website has hundreds of free questions and complete study guides ready and waiting for you. Everything you need is right there whenever you're ready to dive in. Just check the link in the description below and start exploring any time that works best for you. Subscribe and stay tuned for the next part. Good luck on your exam.